The truth about funding your startup business. We're about to decode this right now. Look, the reality is if you are starting a business, you probably already know by now, it's very difficult to get the credit and financing you need. Or is it? So the reality is that most people that have startups are looking at the wrong places and the wrong types of financing to be able to fund their startup. I'm gonna fix all of that right now. I'm gonna decode the truth about funding your startup. We're gonna talk about what's gotten you denied before, the paths that will get you denied, and the smooth path that will actually get you approved. We're gonna talk about a lot of different ways you can actually get the financing you need to fund your startup and all the types of financing you also want to avoid. Look, we got a lot to cover in this training, so let's get going right now. Let's dive in. So let's start with the basics. Why do lenders hate startups? Well, hate's a strong word, but you get the idea. Lenders do not like to lend to new businesses, and there's a lot of reasons for that. First of all, if you look at business failures, the vast majority of them happen within the first 3 years or less. So what this means is it means the newer a business is, the higher the probability that that business will fail. Pretty high risk means banks do not want to be involved. The other thing is that there's no track record. You might not have revenue yet. You might not be able to prove that your concept, your product, or your service can be well received by your market, meaning people will actually buy the thing that you want to sell, or that you have the knowledge and ability to run the business like you think that you do. All of these things are untested and unproven, and banks do not like untested and unproven. This is why the struggle is real when it comes to getting capital to be able to fund a startup. But the good news is there's plenty of options to actually get the money that you need. And let's talk about that right now. So the key is that you don't want to go to banks that focus on more things than what you have. Here's what I mean by that. I mean, banks typically look at three things: cash flow, credit, and collateral. If you're just starting a business and you have damaged personal credit and no cash flow, you're not gonna walk into a bank and be able to get money. Even if you have no cash flow and you remove that C, you're still not going to be able to get the money that you need, right? So the reality is you got to stay away from big banks. You got to stay away from banks that focus on strengths like revenue that you don't yet have. And instead, you got to focus on the types of funding that you can get based on the strengths that you do have. So let me give you some examples. If you have good personal credit, or someone around you does, family member, friend, potential investor, then that credit can be pledged to be able to qualify for a program called Credit Line Hybrid. Now with Credit Line Hybrid, you're able to get $50, $100, even $150,000 even as a new startup business. It's no doc. There's no bank statements. There's no revenue verification. So even if you're just starting a business, you're able to get approved if you or someone around you has good personal credit. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't have good credit. Someone around you isn't willing to use their credit to be able to help you qualify. By the way, if they were, you could even get a lot of these credit lines that you get through Credit Line Hybrid and use them to build your business credit at the same time of getting the funding. But let's say that option's off the table. Then let's look at one of the other C's, right? Cash flow is now out. Now we take credit out, and now we've got collateral. So now we want to focus on that C. So what do you have that's an asset that could be pledged as collateral? Maybe you or someone around you has equipment that's owned free and clear. Maybe you have real estate you could leverage. Maybe you have a 401k or stocks or bonds or IRAs. Any kind of asset that you have, even cryptocurrency, can be used to be able to qualify for all kinds of financing. And if you have collateral, you don't need cash flow. You don't need good credit. So it's a way to still get the money you need at very low rates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% rates if you have some kind of asset that can be pledged as collateral. And look, a lot of it's very powerful types of financing. So if we look at stocks and bonds, or what we call securities-based financing, those stocks and bonds can still stay in the market. They could still be earning the same returns for you or somebody else that they're earning now, but they could also be double leveraged and get a credit line against that to be able to fund the business. So again, by focusing on one of these strengths other than cash flow, like credit or collateral, that's going to open up all kinds of funding opportunities for you. Now, beyond these three C's, there's plenty of other ways to still fund your business as well. One of them is called peer-to-peer lending, places like Lending Club or Prosper, where you're getting money from your actual peers instead of getting money from lending institutions. It's easier to get, it's faster to get. You're also able to get crowdfunding, where again, you're getting money from your peers instead of getting money from lending institutions. And there's all kinds of crowdfunding, from donation-based to stuff you can use to fund your business, for stuff that's very niche niche specific, like just the purpose of purchasing real estate, for example. So that's another way to fund your business. Or maybe you just want free money. Well, then you can tap into federal, local, private grants to be able to do so as well. And this is money that doesn't have to be paid back. So this is the type of financing that's available even as a startup business. The key is that if you don't have cash flow, you need to then look at one of the other C's like credit or collateral instead. And if you have none of those C's, well, then you want to look at options like business credit. You can get all the money you need to fund your business, or crowdfunding, or grants, or peer-to-peer lending. All of these solutions will work for you even as a brand new startup business. So if you'd like to learn more, well, go to creditsuite.com/CLH right now to apply for Credit Line Hybrid. It's the #1 program that exists today for funding startups. It'll get you credit lines on average we see of about $50,000 to $100,000. Yeah, even as a startup business, with 0% rates for up to 18 months, no doc, you can take the cash out at 0%, and you're building business credit at the same time, so make sure you check that out. Now make sure you also check out the link in the description of this training to be able to get a free finance assessment with our team, or go to creditsuite.com/consult. You can actually meet with our team and we'll talk about how fundable your business is and what to do to make it more fundable. We'll talk about tips and tactics to be able to build business credit, and we'll talk about all the kind of financing you're able to get right now. You can even talk to them about becoming a Credit Suite client, where our clients have access to actual courses on things like crowdfunding, private equity, grants, peer-to-peer lending, and so much more. So make sure you get with our team at creditsuite.com/consult. And if you got value from this training, make sure you like and subscribe, and keep your eye out for our next training where we talk about more cool ways to get the money you need to start and grow your business.